So I would love to really dive into that a little bit because what I hear you saying is so much of like who you're being when you're given the message, right? And
Mm,
as we know from just communication, over half of a message that's being delivered is the physiology of the person delivering the message. So little of what is remembered or taken in of the actual words, or as you said, talk track, right? But everyone tries to perfect the script or whatever. And it's like, people don't even remember that. You know, they want to buy from someone they trust, and trust, it's such an instinctual thing. So maybe you can start to help people understand what the inner game is all about and why it's so crucial
yeah.
for success in this world.
Yeah, I'll start just, on the topic of like how you influence somebody. And there's this really powerful study that talked about the 738-55 rule. I'm not sure if you've heard of this, but it's what you're alluding to, where it says of your ability to influence somebody, 7% of your influence are the words that you say, right? The words that are coming out of your mouth, which where most sales training actually focuses is your script and the product information, right? And the beautiful part is like, cool, that's awesome. But there's 93% that my influence comes from something else, where of that 93%, 38% of that is actually your tonality. And there's this great book called Never Split the Difference by a guy named Chris Voss, who was a hostage negotiator. And he used to talk about the late night DJ voice. Essentially, are you speaking from a slower pace and a lower tonality? And where I think about that is actually being able to speak from your gut. And in Buddhism, they call it your dantian. It's like your yin. It's like where, if you're a woman, it's where your womb is, right? It's like where life is literally created. It's your direct connection to source. And so often when people feel like, oh my God, this person's just gave me a really tough objection. Oh, your price is too high. We're going to go with a competitor. What naturally happens is your energy rises and you start speaking either from your chest, your throat, or your nostrils. You're talking really, really fast like this. And you lose essentially trust from that. And so it's like, how do you actually learn, not just like intentionally, okay, I'm going to speak slower like a late night DJ, but like that's where your center of gravity is. Where the other 55% is, you guessed it, it's your body language, it's your energy, it's your physiology. One of my favorite places, easiest ways to coach rep is I say, hey, get a standing desk and take your hands off of the keyboard. So your heart and your chest really opens up and your shoulders drop. Like just by doing that, you will start to speak from a different place. So it's like, cool, we have 93% of tonality and energy that's important. The question then becomes is like, cool, how? Like, how do we actually focus on that arena there? And from my perspective, there's, to really simplify it, there's two sides of the equation. Almost I call it like two different polarities, right? One of the sides is, man, who are you and why are you here? It's actually you gaining a sense of clarity on what are you serving and what's your mission and what's your vision. It was such a big part of our work this past weekend, even at the immersion of like, what are you actually doing with your life, and not just the what. Like sure, like so many people, when I ask them like, hey, what's your 3-year vision, like I want to make 500K and I want to have this house, and it's like, cool, but like what's the meaning you're creating in the world? Who are you actually impacting? How do you want to feel? How do you want the people around you to feel? What's your legacy that you're creating? And the key thing is, are you first enrolled into that vision? And it takes an intentional practice to re-enroll yourself all the time. Like, it's very easy to get in just the minutia of just like, all right, I got calls today. Okay, here we go. But it's like, are you doing something to change your state to tap you back into that vision and that why? Like, for example, one of the things that I do is I have a whole vision playlist on my Spotify. And sometimes when I'm kind of feeling in a rut, I'll put on my Bose headphones and I'll listen to, Hell's Bells as one of my vision songs. And I'll listen to that song. And I'm like, that's right. Like, this is what I'm doing. Like, and I'll feel the essence. I'll like feel the aliveness around, this is the change I'm bringing in the world. This is the movement that I'm about. That's such a key polarity. And if somebody doesn't know what their vision is or what their North Star is, that's okay. Like what I would say to that person is like, your North Star should therefore be finding your North Star. It's like really uncovering, like, man, I'm hungry to figure this out. Like, I want to put myself in a space where I'm going to feel challenged, where I'm going to really be asked tough questions to say, like, man, what is this about for me? Versus just doing what, I've been conditioned to do. So that's one side of the polarity. I can go on the other side of the polarity too, but I'm curious if you have any comments or questions about that side.
Yeah, well, a bunch, but I'll keep it potent. Love this. The image I was getting as you were talking is that metaphor of like the bamboo tree, right? Where in its first, whatever, 5 years of growth, it's very, very little. And then in like 5 years to 20, and I'm probably getting those numbers wrong, it like shoots up. But everyone wants to grow so quickly and just be this huge bamboo or be this huge tree, or like I'm getting the sales and I just want to crush it. And a lot of what I'm hearing you say is like so much energy, time, and intent needs to be spent on what is your vision, why are you doing it, and developing the practices and the skill sets to raise your vibration, raise your physiology up. And then it's like, again, that last 7, 10% is like, yeah, the script and the on the products and all of that. But everyone wants to focus on that. It's almost like you have to like hold back the energy to really develop yourself, so that it's like, again, another metaphor of just like that slingshot coming back. And you got to really let that tension build before you let it go. And how often people just want to get off to the races and just, bump around and try to figure it out. And they wind up, I think, ultimately coming full circle and realizing they have to do this. So I see you positioning yourself to help people, even on the front end of their sales life, or however long they've been in it, to say this art is not only important, it's the most important thing. And
Mm.
I'm imagining the success you've seen with your clients and how they produce and the quotas they actually exceed is really relevant or prevalent.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, if people want to have all this, make this change in this world and to be impacting all these people, you first need to grow in your capacity to hold that stuff. And before, and I probably heard you say this multiple times, it's like if you want to be given more, God needs to trust you first to be able to give you more. That's actually what requires us to go to our edge, to go into our level of discomfort. It's kind of like when you sit in a cold plunge, 40-degree water for 3 minutes. That's never fun. I've done it hundreds of times probably now at this point, and each time I'm like, damn it, I do not want to sit in this. But it's like every single time I go in there and I lose my breath, I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And I sit in it, just sitting in your discomfort, right? And being okay with it. You don't want to go so far out of it where it's actually like messes up your nervous system, but you want to stretch yourself enough to where that's where your capacity increases. Because when you get out of that 40-degree plunge, you're like, man, I'm stronger because of that. Man, I did that. Like, man, when I said I was gonna do something, I did it and I sat within it, even when it was challenging. Man, what else can I do? Where else am I going to be finding this? And that's such a key component